Hey everybody, welcome to Colin's Creatures. Today I'd like you to meet Papaya, my Irian Jaya Carpet Python. Or is it an Irian Jaya Carpet Python? Today in this video, I am talking about the confusing nomenclature of this species of snake. Before we talk about the nomenclature of the snake, I'm going to get her out and talk a little bit about them in general. So now that I have her out, let's talk about them in general. Irian Jaya Carpet Pythons are a species of carpet python from the island of New Guinea, and they are the smallest kind of carpet python in the world. Now, they're not as striking as, let's say, a hybridized diamond jungle jaguar like my baby snake. They are pretty beautiful. She has dark brown and a cream tan color on her back with the classic carpet python pattern, and then going down to her side she has a lighter cream and orange color, and then on her belly she has that same cream color that was on her side, as well as some black spots. And like all carpet pythons, she has her own unique head stamp, and towards her head it is also more yellow. So now let's get into the naming issues, and keeping that in mind, I'll be referring to her as an Irian Jaya, while some people may refer to them as another kind of snake. So now let's talk about the scientific name, or binomial nomenclature as some might call it. The scientific name for all carpet pythons is Morelia spilota, which makes the different kinds of carpet pythons subspecies. For example, the jungle carpet python is Morelia spilota chainii, and the diamond python is Morelia spilota spilota. So you'd think that the scientific name would be pretty definitive, but it isn't, because some sources I have found say that the scientific name for the Irian Jaya Carpet Python is Morelia spilota harrisoni. And if you do a Google search for Irian Jaya Carpet Python scientific name, this will actually pop up. But this is incorrect, because this scientific name was made by a hobby taxonomist who I'm told is known for putting the name of a family member, pet, or friend on a species without doing adequate research and putting it into his scientific journal. So if you see Morelia spilota harrisoni, this is incorrect. The correct scientific name is Morelia spilota variegata, which is shared in its clade with the Darwin carpet python and the Cape York carpet python. Genetic work does not support a split from variegata, so they are technically the same species. They look very similar and have similar colorations. The only real difference is where they're from and their size, the Darwin being the largest and the Irian Jaya being the smallest. So while they are not different species, they would be considered different localities of the same species. So before we do common names, let's do a bit of geography. So this is the island of New Guinea, and this is the half that is owned by Indonesia. This part being Papua, and this part being West Papua. And then this is the country of Papua New Guinea. There are two populations of the locality of the Morelia spilota variegata carpet python on this island. The first one being down here, starting in Papua and going into Papua New Guinea, and the other population being near the capital of Papua New Guinea, being Port Moresby. And for reference, this is where the Darwin carpet python lives, with this being the city of Darwin, and this is the Cape York Peninsula, which is where the Cape York carpet python lives. And then there's common names, which are easier to say and easier to remember. So common names are a good way to differentiate three species in the clade. The Darwin and Cape York are both commonly accepted and easy to say. But for this locality, it's not the same story, because this snake is commonly called the Irian Jaya Carpet Python, or IJ for short, but the common name gets more complicated and controversial because Irian Jaya is no longer an official term. Irian Jaya was the name for the Indonesian half of the island of New Guinea, which is now called Papua and West Papua. And the snakes are from both halves of New Guinea, So that not only makes Irian Jaya outdated, but also technically wrong. So many enthusiasts are now calling the snake the Papuan carpet python, which makes sense because not only the Indonesian half is now referred to as Papua and West Papua, but the other half is the country of Papua New Guinea. But this gets a little bit more confusing because there's also a snake known as the Papuan python, which is completely unrelated to the Papuan carpet python and doesn't even look the same. And this gets even more confusing because the Papuan python is sometimes referred to as the Papuan olive python, but the olive python is its own thing again and isn't even from the island of New Guinea. It's from Australia. And the scientific names for the Papuan python is Apodorus papuana, and the scientific name for the olive python is Liasis olivaceus, and of course the scientific name for the IJ is Morelia spilota variegata, and the IJ doesn't even look like the other two snakes. And since Papuan carpet python perhaps could add more confusion, experts in the field are now espousing the term New Guinea carpet python, which once again makes sense because the whole island is called New Guinea and they're from both halves. But while this name shouldn't cause any confusion once it is widely accepted and in general use, it is kind of bland. So which name should you use? Irian Jaya, which is outdated and incorrect, Papuan carpet python, which can get very confusing between two other snakes, or the New Guinea carpet python, which isn't really confusing but kind of bland. Or how about none of these? I'm going to suggest that we combine the names Irian Jaya and Papuan carpet python to make the Papaya carpet python, which is also why I named my IJ Papaya. So Papaya is no longer an IJ, she is a Papaya carpet python, in my book at least. So feel free to use that name, or if you have an opinion you would like to espouse in the comments, feel free to do so, just make sure it is civil. And before I wrap up the video, I would just like to note that I used reference material for this video, including several sources from the internet and this book, The More Complete Carpet Python, and I was also in contact with its authors, Justin Julander and Nick Mutton, to clarify some of the points and answer some of my questions that I had. So, thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and I'll see you on Colin's Creatures.